This sacred lake, on the banks of which you have come to dream, for one can only understand by dreaming, this mirror set in the rock has reflected the finest firework display of antiquity.
A dazzling gleam that has lasted 20 centuries. As soon as one cluster of stars faded, another pharaoh fired another salvo. And this will be named forever the splendor of Thebes. It has been said that Thebes was the first city, the city of cities. Homer named it the city of 100 gates. For 100 trumpets sounded its fame.
Listen to the sounds of Karnak. The silence was deceptive, since the city for 20 centuries has resounded so much to the sound of song and harp that it was almost alive with music. Naturally, there are the baser tasks of the city, the crowded farmyards, the laden trellises, the papyrus presses, and the nobler tasks, the working of gold and silver, the polishing of the columns, the fashioning of the sandstone blocks.
But above all, there is the fabulous machinery of the universe. For God is in charge and is responsible for the functioning of the world.
Upon the terraces, priest astronomers observe the movement of the stars, are responsible for eclipses of the moon and the rising of the sun.
Other wise men, bending over their desks, keep the maps of the empire up to date, and the much more complicated maps of the kingdom of eternity. Watching over the furnaces, others supervised the mysterious metallurgical union of silver and gold into electrum, whose shining plaques would clothe the obelisks. Look now over the river to the west bank, where the sun sets every evening behind the Valley of the Kings.
It is the shore of the dead, the beginning of the beyond.
If some lights are still shining in the necropolis, it means that the embalmers are late at their work.
Their patron is Anubis, the somber god who prowls like a black dog around the cemeteries. Their god is Osiris, who knows all the secrets of the resurrection and watches 70 nights over the mummification workshops and the endless swaths of wrappings. We are at the turning point of the 18th and 19th dynasties, more than 3,000 years ago. Before it, every Tutmosis and Amenophis. After it, every Seti and Ramesses. Now, we are at the moment of unbelievable sacrilege and revolution. Amenophis IV changes his name, his god, and his capital.
Above all glories, he set love supreme. And his beloved wife, Nefertiti, shared his dream of a new faith and a new city.
Amun no longer existed. Even his name was effaced from the monuments. The new god was called Aton.
The heretical pharaoh took the name of Akhenaton, devoting himself to his new worship, his poems, his prophecies, his new city of El Amarna.
And Karnak seemed to be relegated to the shadows. But the new religion lasted only as long as its inventor. The chisel, ruin, and fire all conspired to obliterate his image.
The new pharaoh was a child.
This child was to restore the ancient worship.
He rekindled 1,000 lamps of the abandoned temples of Karnak. He took the traditional name. And if his earthly life was short, since he died in his adolescence, his posthumous glory eclipses that of all the others, for his name is Tutankhamun.
His makeshift tomb was dug in the very floor of the Valley of the Kings. Over there.
It escaped the looters for 3,000 years. And in 1922, everything was there.
The sarcophagi, one inside the other. The statues, the jewels of gold, the sacred and profane furniture, the alabasters, the porcelains, that prodigious treasure that still draws the crowds, and that mask encrusted with lapis lazuli and cornelian, which stares at us from the depths of the night with the enigmatic smile of an immortal young man.
Let us return for a moment to the distant centuries when the world's first great queen, Hatshepsut, was inspired to dedicate 2 golden obelisks to Amun. Listen.
Behold, I was sitting in my palace, meditating upon the being who created me, when the voice of my heart spoke, telling me to make 2 golden obelisks for him. My spirit took fire, thinking of what the men who would later see these monuments would say. They would say, "Why this mountain of gold?" But my dream was beyond my power. My 2 obelisks were not of gold, but a single stone, hard granite without a join, and the expedition to bring the stone to me took 7 months. Now the 2 obelisks have been set up. I must finish their dedication. I shall add this. Thinking of future men who will not have seen the realization of my dream of gold, I wish at least that they may be able to say this, that my mouth was excellent in the words that issued from it, and that even in granite, I never went back on my word.
torn from their native land. Today, obelisks rise in all the capitals of the modern world. In Rome, Paris, London, Istanbul, New York.
Above the vain tumult of cities, these stones stand like fingers raised for silence, preserving the tradition of ancient Egypt's meditation. And the breath of Ammon turns the machinery of the world in the heart of the Forbidden City.
But each year, the harvest done, the grapes gathered, when the new wine rises to the head, Ammon takes a short holiday. On his barge of state, he sets forth for a honeymoon on the river.
He goes to Luxor, where he honeymoons each year with the goddess Amenet.
This is the beautiful festival of Opet. The joyous echoes still seem to come down to us from the depths of time. All the details are inscribed in the walls along the great colonnade at Luxor.
Once again, in this month of Houthi, the people of Thebes are gathering at the gates of Karnak for the grand festival of the god Ammon.
It is enough to hear the laughter, to know that the granaries are full and that the grapes are already fermented.
Silence! Here come the standards and banners of the open procession. The bark porters are moving up again from their resting point. There's the ram's head at the prow of the divine bark.
The barks of Mut, Horns, and the Pharaoh are following in order. And you can just make out the baskets of fruit and flowers through the plumed parasols.
The front of the procession has reached the landing stage. Ammon is hoisted on his vessel, and it swings to face the current. But the current is strong, and the bare-chested men in the towing tugs row for all their worth. And they never succeed if the men on the right were not hauling on the cables. Listen to the Darabuka players, rhythming the oarsmen. One behind the other, you can see the divine barks as dazzling as the sun. The sacred fleet has reached Luxor. Luxor. That the people call the Halim of God.
And how could it be better expressed? This tender mystery that will reign over Luxor for 10 days and 10 nights, so that the world may be reborn, that the cattle may multiply, and the earth be fertile.
Take thy joy, O Ammon.
And give us joy too during these days of feast.
While we await thy return on the 11th day, and thy glorious descent of the Nile, and thy return to Karnak.
Yet the twilight fell over the city of God, as it falls over all things.
The boots of the great conquerors rang on the paving stones of antiquity.
Ashurbanipal the Assyrian reached the gates of Thebes and defied the ancient citadel. Alexander of Macedon wished to add the title of Pharaoh to his glories.
Caesar the Roman clutched all the Mediterranean in his eager hand and opened it only to give a last caress to conquered Egypt.
Like a tree that has grown too old, Ammon himself knew no return of spring.
But the line of Aton, born of the dream of a pharaoh who was a poet, was luckier than the patriarch of Karnak. It was the one god of Akhenaton, the Our Father of the Christians and the Muslims, who raised chapels and mosques in the dust of Thebes.
But though the testimonies of a faith may fall into ruins, they do not die. The language may be lost, but it will be found. And Ammon, who reigns forever here, is not a god to be taken lightly.
He is a god of the beginning, when the earth and the waters were still mingled, as were the animals and men. He is a complex god, as powerful as the creation.
Ammon announced the salvation of man.
He also announced the salvation of the crocodile and the scarab, everything that moves, of the flowers of the earth. He deigned to assume the guise of a ram, a falcon, a goose, or a bull. He offered equality to all the companions of the universe.
And the language of the hieroglyphics is like this overwhelming faith, which, thanks to the floods of the Nile, raised these pylons, these colonnades, these obelisks.
May these hieroglyphics come to life once more, to bid farewell to you, new pilgrims to Upper Egypt. Like a sudden flight of a myriad sacred birds, their spread wings sprinkling the droplets of the river like a benediction.